When people think of World War II, they picture tanks rolling through cities, planes dogfighting in the skies, and massive battles fought across continents. But for the soldiers living it, survival was not always about the clash of armies. It was about staying alive one more night in frozen fields, ruined villages, and endless forests. German soldiers on the Eastern Front faced some of the harshest conditions in history, where hunger, frostbite, and exhaustion were often deadlier than bullets. Out of this struggle came survival tricks so shocking, so desperate, that they were whispered like secrets among the men who lived them. Tricks born not from manuals, but from sheer human will. And today, we reveal those brutal, forgotten survival methods. The Russian winter was merciless. Temperatures dropped to -30 degrees Celsius, freezing fuel inside tanks and locking machine guns solid. For soldiers caught in the open, shelter was scarce, and exposure was as lethal as enemy fire. Out of this desperation came a gruesome tactic. When a horse collapsed from exhaustion or was killed by artillery, it did not simply become a dead animal. It became shelter. Soldiers would cut open the carcass and crawl inside, using its body heat and insulating flesh to survive the night. To outsiders, it sounds horrifying. But to the men trapped in endless blizzards, a frozen horse meant life. To them, survival was worth any cost. In the vast white fields of Russia, a column of smoke could be a death sentence. Artillery or snipers would strike within minutes, so soldiers had to invent fires that hid their own existence. They dug shallow pits into the frozen earth, filled them with smoldering dung, peat, or embers instead of wood, then covered them with snow. The heat was enough to thaw frozen food or warm hands, yet the smoke was nearly invisible. It was dirty, it was crude, but it was survival. A soldier's secret fire, hidden from the eyes of the enemy. The German army had prepared for a quick summer campaign. Instead, soldiers marched into a Russian winter, still wearing thin uniforms. Supply shortages left thousands without proper coats, gloves, or boots. So they improvised. They stuffed newspapers and straw into their jackets for insulation. Curtains and bedsheets ripped from abandoned villages were wrapped around legs to prevent frostbite. Some wore women's scarves or coats taken from civilians, not out of vanity, but out of desperation. It may have looked absurd, but these layers often meant the difference between life and losing fingers, toes, or entire limbs. One of the most unlikely survival tricks came not from manuals, but from explorers in the Arctic. Soldiers discovered that snow itself could save their lives. By digging into a snowbank and hollowing out a chamber, they created snow caves that trapped body heat and blocked the wind. Inside, temperatures could stay above freezing even when it was -30 outside. For men who had marched all day through waist-deep snow, learning that snow could be an ally, not just a killer, was a revelation. It was a silent trick passed among the front lines, a reminder that even the enemy of survival could sometimes become its tool. Hunger was constant. Supply lines stretched across thousands of miles, often cut off by Soviet forces. Soldiers scavenged fields for frozen potatoes, boiled pine needles into tea to fight scurvy, and chewed bark and moss. When nothing remained, they turned to leather. Belts, boots, and harnesses were cut into strips and boiled until soft enough to chew. It was disgusting, It was grotesque, but it was food. To a starving soldier, even boiled leather could mean another day alive. Water was a hidden danger. Snow could be melted, but over a fire it gave away position. Some soldiers learned to place snow in their mouths, melting it slowly instead of swallowing chunks that lowered body temperature dangerously. Others filled canteens with snow and kept them under coats, letting body heat do the work. It was small, simple, and it saved lives. But not every survival trick was physical. Cold, hunger, and exhaustion could break the will faster than enemy fire. Soldiers developed mental routines to endure. They sang songs, cleaned weapons, wrote letters, not just as chores, but as lifelines. Watches were rotated in short shifts to fight despair. Because in war, despair can kill as surely as a bullet. The survival tricks of German soldiers on the Eastern Front were shocking. Crawling into horse carcasses, burning dung for warmth, boiling leather for food, these were not glorious tales of battle. They were the raw, desperate realities of war. Behind the sweeping campaigns and famous generals were ordinary men, clinging to life through improvisation, endurance, and sheer refusal to give up. These stories remind us that survival in war is not about heroism alone. It is about the raw human will to endure the impossible. If you found these hidden survival secrets eye-opening, subscribe for more untold World War II stories and lessons from history that textbooks leave out.